In 1916, America had more railway than the rest of the world combined. Today, it has less than China built in 15 years. The country that invented the railway watches from the sidelines. September 1830, Liverpool to Manchester, 56 kilometers. George Stephenson's rocket pulls 40 passengers at 30 kilometers an hour. By the end of the decade, every empire in Europe is copying it. Britain builds 2,400 kilometers of track in 10 years. Continental Europe combined builds half that. By 1850, the United States has more railway than Britain. America is half empty, and rail is how you fill it. Then the Civil War. Lincoln signs the law that lets him seize any railroad in the country. Both sides destroy each other's track. By the time it ends, the South has lost 2,000 kilometers. Promontory Summit, Utah, May 1869. Two railroad crews driving from opposite coasts meet and drive in a golden spike. The Atlantic is now connected to the Pacific by rail. 16 years later, Donald Smith drives the final spike at Craigellachie. Canadian Pacific is complete. Vancouver is now reachable from Montreal by train, 4,000 kilometers later. In 1872, British engineers build Japan its first railway, 29 kilometers, Tokyo to Yokohama. 4 years later, they build China's first. The Qing dynasty watches it run for 10 months, then tears it apart and ships the rails to Taiwan. Russia begins the Trans-Siberian in 1891. The plan is to put track across 9,000 kilometers of permafrost, taiga, and the widest river system on Earth. Alexander III gives the project 25 years. He dies 3 years later. France connects every prefecture to Paris. Argentina builds rail for British meat exporters. Every empire on Earth is racing to lay track. By 1900, world rail crosses 1 million kilometers. Half of it is American. Between 1900 and 1916, the United States adds railway at a pace humanity will never match again. The country crosses 300,000 kilometers, then 400. Every major American city has a station, and most small ones do too. The trains run 24 hours a day. 8% of the American workforce works for a railroad. The Wright brothers fly at Kitty Hawk in 1903. The rail industry shrugs. 5 years later, Henry Ford builds the Model T. The rail industry does not shrug. Within a decade, Ford has sold more cars than every locomotive built in human history. The Americans do not yet know it, but the peak is coming. January 1916. American railway reaches 408,800 kilometers. The number is never beaten by anyone, ever, including America. The same year, Russia finishes the Trans-Siberian. Vladivostok is now reachable from Moscow by train, 9,200 kilometers, 8 days. World War I has started. Within a week of mobilization, 3 million European troops are on military rail cars. The Italian, French, and German networks all hit their peaks during the war years. The British finally peak in 1920 at 38,000 kilometers. Then, 1923. A magnitude 7.9 earthquake destroys 75 kilometers of Japanese rail in 12 seconds. Tokyo Central is one of the few buildings left standing. The trains restart inside a week. October 1929. Wall Street crashes. American railroad orders evaporate within months. In Germany, the new chancellor announces the Autobahn. Hitler picks roads, not rails, as the symbol of modernity. The German rail bureaucracy is then handed the logistical job of running the Holocaust. They keep detailed records. By 1945, 16,000 kilometers of German rail are unusable. Most of the Japanese network is gone. Tokyo Station survives the bombings. The trains that come out of it are running on rails that have not been replaced since 1923. The peace treaty is signed on a battleship in Tokyo Bay. The railroads that bring the occupying soldiers in are operated by the country that just surrendered. In 1947, India and Pakistan partition. 17,000 kilometers of track change owners overnight. The trains carry refugees in both directions. Many do not reach the destination. By 1955, Argentina peaks at 46,000 kilometers of rail. Buenos Aires is the third busiest railway hub on Earth, after Chicago and Moscow. The Saudi monarchy opens its first line, paid for in oil. The Transuranian completes mountain to sea, financed without a single foreign loan. Then, 1963. The British government hires a doctor named Richard BEIJING to evaluate their network. His report recommends closing a quarter of it. The closures begin within months. 2,000 stations disappear. The country that invented the railway is now disassembling it. October 1964, Tokyo Olympics Week. The Japanese government opens the Shinkansen, Tokyo to Osaka, 210 kilometers an hour, the first high-speed railway in history. American engineers fly out to study it. They report back that the technology is impressive, but unnecessary because Americans prefer cars and planes. 9 years later, OPEC raises the price of oil by 400%, and the American Congress remembers why railways exist. Amtrak is created. The British network bottoms out at 22,000 kilometers, half the Victorian peak. The Soviet network is now larger than every Western European country combined. And in a French testing yard outside Lyon, engineers are running a train at 380 kilometers an hour. They call it the TGV. September 1981. President Mitterrand cuts the ribbon on the TGV. Paris to Lyon in 2 hours, 260 kilometers an hour. Europe discovers it can also build high-speed rail. Within a decade, Spain, Germany, Italy, and the UK all begin their own programs. 4 years after the TGV opens, the Soviet Union's rail network hits its all-time peak, 147,000 kilometers. The Soviet Union has 6 more years to live. In 1987, Japan privatizes its national railway into 7 JR companies. Western economists predict failure. All 7 companies are profitable within a decade. The Soviet Union begins to fall apart. The railways are the only thing in the country that still works. August 1991. The Soviet Union dissolves. The rail network splits between 15 countries. Russia keeps 87,000 kilometers. Ukraine takes 23. Kazakhstan, Belarus, and the smaller republics divide the rest. The same year, Argentina begins privatizing its railroads. Within 8 years, the network shrinks from 33,000 kilometers to 20,000. The third busiest rail hub on Earth becomes a country where entire provinces lose their connection to anything. By 2007, France is running TGV at 320 kilometers an hour in commercial service. A test train hits 574.8, faster than any wheeled train ever recorded. The same year, in the United States, the Acela enters its 7th year of premium Northeast service. Top speed, 240. On a good day, 8 minutes faster than the regional train that costs a third as much. August 2008. The day before the Beijing Olympics open, China opens its first high-speed line, Beijing to Tianjin, 117 kilometers. Average speed, 280 kilometers an hour. 3 years later, Beijing to Shanghai opens, 1,318 kilometers in 5 hours. The cheapest seat costs less than the same trip by air. Air travel between the two cities collapses within a year. By 2014, China has built more high-speed track in 6 years than every other country in the world has built in 40. The expansion is paid for by long-term debt that Western economists keep insisting will trigger a crisis. The crisis fails to arrive. The trains keep getting faster. Between 2015 and 2020, China lays high-speed track at a rate of 3,000 kilometers per year. By 2020, the network passes 35,000 kilometers, more than France, Germany, Japan, Spain, and Italy combined. The Fuqing series enters revenue service at 350 kilometers an hour. The Beijing to Shanghai line, in a single year, carries more passengers than the entire Amtrak system has carried in its history. Saudi Arabia's opens the Haraman Railway, 2-hour Mecca to Medina, the first high-speed line in the Arab world. Then, March 2020, a pandemic empties trains worldwide. The Tokyo-Yamanote line, the busiest commuter line ever built, carries fewer riders in a single morning than at any point since the war. By 2024, China crosses 45,000 kilometers of high-speed rail, more than the entire rest of the world combined. The Beijing-Shanghai high-speed line, by itself, has carried more passengers than every American intercity train combined ever. In the same year, the United States Congress enters its 17th year of debating whether to fund high-speed rail between Los Angeles and San Francisco. Cost projections continue to rise. Construction continues to not. The country that once had more railroad than the rest of the planet now has less high-speed rail than Uzbekistan.